Hello. Today I'd like to talk about the dollar per gallon sales at Petco and how they translate into people looking to do saltwater tanks. They're trying to find ways to save money. And so a lot of times, they'll look at the dollar per gallon sales at Petco and, and wonder whether or not it's a good deal as far as getting them or whether or not they should get a tank kit from Petco or PetSmart or someplace like that. Well, the truth is, it really depends. What I would say is that if you are looking at something like a smaller tank, something like a 20 long or 40 breeder, then I would say by all means the Petco dollar per gallon sale is a great way to save money if you want to go with an all new setup. These tanks are great buys because they're just a tank, and obviously you can sit there and build them. I have another video on here that tells you how to do one with a 20 long setup for a few $100s to set up a fish only with live rock setup. And anyways, they're just great tanks as far as that's concerned, and it's a great way to save money. Now, that said, however, what ends up happening, unfortunately, is that some people try and go, okay, I'm going to get a 75, I'm going to get a 125 gallon or something like that, and go ahead and do that. The problem that people run into is, and what they don't realize when they go ahead and get these tanks, is the problem of the fact that once you get into about the 4 foot long tank range, something in the 55 to 75 gallon range, you're talking about needing to have and run a sump system, which means you would need to have a tank that is, generally speaking, pre-drilled. If you want to have one that's least amount of hassle factor for you in terms of setting it up with the equipment that you need, and having a tank that's pre-drilled in the corner with an overflow that runs down into a sump. So for this reason, a lot of times in those situations, you're much better off just buying a complete used setup from your local fish store that already has a tank that's pre-drilled, has the sump and the other equipment that you can get for a lot less. That's what I ended up doing in general with my 90 gallon. I did hit that snag where I ended up having to buy a brand new pre-drilled tank for display tank, but the stand, sump, skimmer, and everything were still ended up being used equipment that I got a good deal on and saved a bunch of money on. So anyways, so as I said, if you're looking into a smaller tank, something smaller to start up with, 20 long, 40 breeder, something like that, then I would say by all means go ahead with a Petco dollar per gallon sale. Or in the case of the 40 breeder, it would be actually 50% off because they quit doing the dollar per gallon on those, unfortunately. So that way, because with those tanks you don't need to have a sump, and quite frankly, in my opinion, they kind of add a needless degree of complexity of equipment and cost to a smaller used setup, or new setup, excuse me. So anyways, once again, it really depends on what you want to go with. Now, some people will say, well, that's crazy. You just go ahead and go and buy the bigger tank at 50% off or whatever and get a 75 or 55 or something like that and just go ahead and drill it for a sump. Well, the problem that you run into with that is that in some cases the glass is tempered, and if you go and drill a tempered glass tank, you end up with a tank that is an absolute mess of shattered glass shards. So anyways, there are ways that you can do that. I've heard some people doing red light and sunglasses and stuff like that, doing goofy things like that. Personally, for me though, I don't have a steady enough hand to venture into something like that. It's not something I want to mess with. If you're a handyman person and you don't mind looking into it, then yeah, you can do that and save some money, where you drill it yourself and then you put in the partition there and seal it in the corner or whatever it might be in order to have a drilled tank and then setting up a sump in it. That said, The other thing I do want to touch on is tank kits. Tank kits from Petco or PetSmart and just various other regular, just conventional tank kits, I do not recommend. The problem is that you're going to end up basically rebuying all the equipment that comes with it, because just about none of it is suitable for a saltwater tank, or that you're going to end up replacing it with better equipment. So for that reason, I don't recommend, like I made the mistake of buying an Aqueon 36-gallon bow front kit from PetSmart, and the only things that I had left from the original tank kit when all was said and done was the tank itself and the base hood. The light, the tank heater, the power filter, all of those I ended up replacing with units that were better suited for a saltwater tank kit, and so I ended up wasting a lot of money rebuying things. If you're looking for kind of an all-in-one setup, my personal recommendation would be doing something like the Innovative Marine or IM Nuvo Fusion series. They are a great all-in-one unit. The display, the glass is really clear on it. And they're just, if you're looking somewhere in that, 10 to 30 gallon range, it's a great all-in-one setup unit for the money. They don't come with lights, but that's perfect because it gives you the opportunity to go buy the light that you need rather than just taking your chances with whatever the manufacturer decides to throw in there that may or may not be suitable for coral growth or is only suitable for certain kinds of corals or those sorts of things. The other thing that's cool about them is that most of them, at least, most of those IM Nuvos, do come with a screen mesh top, which is great because it helps keep your fish in your tank. And as mentioned in the other videos, remember, all fish are potential jumpers and have the ability to jump at some point. So don't think that, oh, well, I'll just get fish that don't jump. Well, it doesn't work that way. So anyways, once again, back to the original topic, Petco dollar per gallon sales, great for smaller tanks, say 20 long, 40 breeder. Not as good of a deal for the larger tanks just because of the amount of work involved. You're either much better off going to a local fish store and just buying a pre-drilled used setup, or just buying a new pre-drilled tank yourself and then going from there. So anyways, with the regards to the others, with tank kits and stuff like that, once again, something that's specifically built for it, the IM Nuvo is my personal recommendation, although you can get by with one of those Fluval Evo kits if you're going really small, or a BioCube from Coral Life. So that's all I've got on that, and thanks for watching.